Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Live the Light, a show about personal growth through spirituality. And I'm your host, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist, Nicole Bowman. I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the show tonight and for sharing your light with me. Live the Light airs the first of every month on Blog Talk Radio, and those are pre-recorded episodes. But tonight, we're doing a very, very special episode in honor of Valentine's Day. So we'll be talking about twin flames and trauma bonds and trying to understand how all of that works. But before we get into that, please take a moment to follow the show. You can do that through Blog Talk Radio. You can also share this show on social media. And you can also listen on YouTube, SoundCloud, and NicoleBowman.biz after this broadcast is over. So I want to thank you guys again so much for being a part of the show. I want to thank you so much for sharing your light with me. And we will be doing live readings tonight. The guest call-in number is 516-453-9935. Once again, that is 516-453-9935. So I will be taking relationship questions only this evening. If you have more predictive questions about when you're going to sell your house or get a new job, that'll be another show another time. Tonight is relationship questions only. So before we get into the reading segment of our series, I want to talk a little bit about twin flames and trauma bonds and sort of give it a context and a grounding for specifically what we're speaking about. You know, if you are spiritually inclined at all, if you're in part of spiritual communities, metaphysical communities, you've probably heard the terminology twin flame. And there's a lot that's been written about it. There's a lot of information that is really great and grounded. There's a lot of information that is misguided. So I wanted to break it all down, share what twin flames are, share what trauma bonds are, and share how we can apply that to our lives and better understand our relationships. So before we get into trauma bonds, let's just very, very quickly talk about twin flame connections, what they are, how they show up in our lives, and what they mean. So twin flame connections, it basically exists in just about every religion. Just about every religion or school of thought, you can find some aspect of the twin flame phenomenon. But it's most famous in Greek mythology. And the idea is that Zeus, in his infinite wisdom, created human beings. And when he did, he created a soul, and he split that soul in half. Right? And so essentially what a twin flame connection is it's your spiritual other half. It is your spiritual twin. It's kind of like looking in the mirror and seeing yourself. Now, one of the things that often gets misconstrued about twin flame connections is that people often believe that twin flame connections are only romantic. And I have to say, through personal experience of reading for thousands of people over the course of years, yes, there are twin flame connections that are romantic, but there are also twin flame connections that are platonic. A twin flame is essentially that. They are your spiritual twin. They are your other half. They are the other aspect of your soul, if you will. And the purpose of a twin flame connection is to share and experience unconditional love. That's what twin flame connections are about. A lot of times, people think that twin flame connections are just all about romance and two people being so in love and it's all about them. But the truth of the matter is, real twin flame connections are actually about service and a gift you give to the world. You'll often find that people who are twin flames, typically they have spiritual businesses together, they have some life of service together. There's something they do for the greater world and the greater community, because the purpose of twin flame connections is to mirror unconditional love to the world and raise the vibration. Now, you have to remember, we're in the midst of a huge spiritual awakening. So essentially, twin flame connections are those connections that teach us how to love ourselves more deeply, see ourselves, work together, and make the world a better place, right? You know, some examples of twin flame connections would be like former President Jimmy Carter and his wife, or Gary Zukav and his wife. In both cases, you see people that have come together, and they've certainly come together in a romantic sense, but they've come together for a life of service. And that's the part that gets missed. People often get caught up in the romanticism of twin flames, and they actually miss the service of twin flames. The twin flame connection is actually less about the two people involved and more about the gift they're going to give to the world. So if you're questioning whether or not you're in a twin flame connection, one of the biggest questions you can ask yourself is, are we called to a life of service together? Do we have a business together? Do we share common values and interests? Are we spiritually mature enough to go out into the world and help raise the vibration? You know, if the answer is yes, and it's yes on both parts, meaning you and the flame say the same thing, chances are you might be twin flames. But if that is not the case, you know, you want to backtrack and you want to think about it, because twin flames are not just romantic in nature. Sometimes it can be a parent and child. Sometimes it can be literal twins, identical or fraternal. Sometimes it can be siblings. Sometimes it can be best friends. But when you look at that person, you see a piece of yourself in their eyes. So, you know, I just wanted to share that. I also want to talk a little bit about trauma bonds. And we can't talk about twin flame connections without moving into trauma bonds and explaining what they are. And the reason I say this is because there's been a lot of information that's been written about twin flame connections. And as I said before, some of it is great information, it's true, it's grounded, it's there, and some of it is actually misguided. And it plays upon people's insecurities, it plays upon their neuroses, it may even play on mental health issues or mental illnesses that people may have. Sometimes it plays on their trauma, right? And so I say this because I've also read for a lot of people over the years who believe they're in a twin flame connection, and what they're actually in is a trauma bond. And a trauma bond is essentially an abusive relationship between two people or a group of people, and they mistake the abuse as love. So one or both partners is applying abuse to the other person. And because they don't know what love is, they mistake the running and the catching and the drama and the ups and downs for love. They mistake the running and the drama and the catching for a twin flame who just can't see that we should be together. When in actuality, what it really is an abusive and neglectful relationship, and it's a person who is pushing your buttons, they are breaking you down, they are not your twin flame on any level, but because you have experienced a traumatic past, perhaps you don't know what love is, perhaps you think that love is pain and love is sacrifice, and so you mistake verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, you mistake emotional abuse for love. And oftentimes you bond over your pain. You know, it's quite similar to if you've read about people who've been kidnapped, for example, and all of a sudden in the course of being kidnapped, they begin to identify with their attacker. They begin to love their attacker. Right? That is a trauma bond. And the same is true for people who believe they're in twin flame connections. So one of the things that I would definitely say is if somebody is physically abusing you, if they are berating you, if they are neglecting you, if you have poured your heart out to them and said, you know, this is what I want, this is what I need, we should be together, and they have said no, or they continue to treat you like an option, you may have to consider that this person is not your twin flame, and you may have to consider that it is an abusive or potentially abusive relationship that is starting. You know, there are, of course, times where a person may be a twin flame, but they are not spiritually mature or advanced enough to step into that energy with you. And also, if you notice that's what's going on, another part of it is unconditional love. And part of unconditional love is having the strength and the grace to know when to walk away. Right? Sometimes you got to kick the dust off your feet and you got to walk no matter how much you love someone. Because if somebody doesn't want the same thing that you want, if they're resisting, if they're moving away, sometimes you simply have to let it go. You know, and the final thing I will say in terms of twin flame connections, and this is something that Spirit has said to me about it, everyone does not have a twin flame. Some people are born with a twin flame, some people are not. The other thing you also have to consider is that twin flames don't always incarnate at the same time, meaning that your twin flame could exist in another dimension. So if it is your duty, your responsibility, and a part of your life's path to reunite with your twin flame in this lifetime, that will happen. Things will converge to make that happen. But if it doesn't come through, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have one. It just means that for the purposes of this lifetime, that is not your path. And I think that that is so important to stress because you have to understand people exist in different dimensions. Souls exist in different dimensions. Also, there are twin flame connections where there may be somebody who's very young and somebody who's very old, and there's a possibility in this lifetime you may not meet. They may be leaving the earth plane as you're coming into it. So we have to consider all of these things before we just blanketly say, oh, this person is my twin flame. But I just want to reiterate before we go to a quick break, and then we're going to go and take some questions. Remember that a twin flame connection is this. They are your spiritual twin, meaning your other half. You will probably feel like you've known them before. Ideally, you'll be in the same space spiritually so that you can grow together. And most of the time, you're going to have some sort of a life of service that helps the two of you to raise the vibration of the planet. If that raising the vibration of the planet and joining together to do so does not exist in your union, it is not a twin flame connection. And a lot of people have to know and understand that. It may be a soulmate connection in the sense that they stretch your soul and teach you lessons. It may be a life partnership in the sense that you're to have children together. It may be a deep friendship, but it's not always a twin flame connection. And so I think it's so important to be aware of that. So we're going to go to a quick musical break, but when we come back, I will be doing some readings, so I will be taking your questions, and I will get to as many people as I can. It will be one question per person, so do understand that I can't give full-length readings tonight, but if you would like a full-length reading, you can go to NicoleBowman.biz. I will be available Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday of this week from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick musical break, and we'll come right back. Live the Light, a show about personal growth through spirituality. And I'm your host, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist, Nicole Bowman. And I want to thank you guys again so much for being a part of the show tonight. This is a live reading show, but you can catch pre-recorded episodes of Live the Light the first of every month on Blog Talk Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All of those links are in the description if you want to listen to archived episodes. And I thank you guys so much for your support. So tonight we're talking about twin flames and trauma bonds and exactly how that might show up in our lives and how we can better understand them. So I'm going to be going to the phone lines in just a second, and I'm going to be doing some live readings for you guys. Just a reminder for anyone who's holding on the phone lines, tonight we'll be doing relationship questions only. So if you have predictive questions like what school you're going to get into, when you're going to sell your house, things of that nature, we may do another reading show later on about more predictive questions, but tonight it is strictly about relationships. Now, if you would like to speak to me and you would like to get a reading, please press 1 on your phone. That way I will know that you are not just listening, but you do actually want me to connect with you for a session. And before I jump into taking our first call, all I need you to do is just state your name, where you're calling from, and what your question is, okay? If it's connected to another person, obviously it would be tonight because it's relationship, just state their name, but I prefer that you don't give any background information. The less background you give me, the better. So I'm going to go to the phone lines now. And I ask that you turn down your background. So if you're listening on your computer or your phone, please turn down the background so we don't have static. I'm going to go to the first person holding on the line. It is area code 856. So give me 1 second in area code 856. I'm going to pull you up onto the air. All right, area code 856, you're live. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Rosemaria from New Jersey.
Hi, Rosemaria. How you doing this evening?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you so much for calling. So let's jump right into your question. What is your question? What is it you're wanting to know or understand this evening about relationship?
I knew it. Cause I've been manifesting one and trying to get one, and why I'm not getting it like yesterday. So I was wondering why it's not coming in fast enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me just connect and tap in and see specifically what Spirit is saying about this. So here's immediately what I see around it. They're basically giving me the sense and impression that it's simply not your time yet. And that might not be the most convenient of answers, but that's what Spirit is making me feel. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean that it won't happen. One of the things, though, that I do see, and I feel like this is a challenge because there has to be a bit of a balance. On one hand, yes, you want a partnership, and there's frustration because it hasn't come in yet. But what I'm seeing from Spirit is it feels like there's a lot of self-talk about why it hasn't happened, and what that's doing is it's creating a lot of frustration and I don't want to say negative energy, but it's creating sort of an energy of like, why isn't this happening for me? And so essentially what's being said to the universe is, I'm not getting a partner, I'm not getting a partner, I'm not getting a partner. So what Spirit is saying you need to do to sort of circumvent this so you're not drawing that vibration to you is to acknowledge the fact that you're frustrated, you're irritated that you don't have a partner yet, but then you have to shift it and you have to mentally say, but it's coming, but they're coming. The other thing that I also see from Spirit, just in terms of manifestation for you, I kind of feel like you have an idea in your head of the type of partner you want. It does feel to me like it's sort of a list, but there's something about this list that needs to be simplified, if that makes sense. And so what Spirit is saying is, instead of like a lot of things that you might want to check off, you more focus instead on how you want to feel in this person's presence. And Spirit is also saying you want to think about the one quality that is essential for your life partner. Like, what must they have that is essential? And then as you do that, as you go about your life and you go about the world, you want to look for that quality in people. Right? So essentially what Spirit is saying is they're trying to get you to focus on the thing that you're trying to attract as opposed to what's not happening, you know? So I do feel like that will help you. When I look at it psychically, just to give you something related to timing, just so you know, I do feel dating this year for you. I do feel that. But when I'm looking at it psychically, there's something going on, and it may be how you're meeting people or not meeting people right now. But timing wise, for some reason, as we get like into closer to the late summer, moving into the fall, a lot more energy picks up for dating with you. But I do want to stress with timing, time can speed up or slow down depending upon what you do. So they're saying don't be married to the timeline, but start looking for that quality in a person, in everybody you see and everybody you meet, because what it will do is it will draw that energy closer to you. And that's what I'm receiving for you, okay?
All right, cool. Appreciate it.
All right. You're welcome. You take care, okay? You have a great night.
You, you too.
All right. Bye now. Yeah, so we will go to a couple more calls in just a second, but I want to just stop for a second and talk about manifesting and drawing partners to us, because I think that, you know, obviously many of us do want life partnerships. We do want long-term partners. We do want people to come into our lives. And even if we're talking not just about manifesting partnership, manifesting a job, manifesting better relationships with people, how do we do that? One of the things that I do find when I'm reading for a lot of people, specifically for love and relationships, there's many instances where people will have a long list of what they want in a partner, how the person has to look, how they have to do this, how they have to do that. And what Spirit says again and again and again, and that it is so important to simplify, simplify, simplify. Get down to the essential thing, like the most important thing that a partner must have, and focus on that. You know, do they need to be kind? Do they need to be intelligent? Do they need to be empathetic? Focus on one thing. I mean, that sounds overly simplistic, and it is in a way. But a lot of times when we simplify it down to what is most important to us, to the most important thing, we just might get it. So, you know, I just want people to kind of understand that and keep that in mind. And I do want to say, one final thing, too, before we go to the phone lines. I recently created an e-guide called Why is Love Eluding You? Find Out in 5 Steps. If you want to purchase that, you can purchase that on NicoleBowman.biz. And what I essentially do in that e-guide is I talk about the 5 reasons why romantic love may not have found you yet, right? And there is a 20-minute audio component as well as a written PDF. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can move into that more in depth, read it, take a look at it, and I think it will definitely help you. So you can head over to NicoleBowman.biz if that's something you're interested in. But we're going to go ahead and go back to the phone lines, and I do see we've got a lot of people holding. One thing, if you do want to speak to the host, which is me, obviously, please press 1 on your keypad, because when you press 1 on your keypad, it shows up, and then I'm able to pull you up right away. If you don't press 1, it doesn't read as you wanting the reading, and so then I will not select you, okay? So I do ask that you turn your background down if you're listening on your computer so we don't have any static. I'm going to go to area code 267 in just a moment. So let me just pull you up. All right. Area code 267, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. My name is Donna. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Donna. How you doing this evening?
Oh, pretty good. I
All
just
right.
wanted to ask you, do you see relationship coming in for me?
You know, with you, I actually feel it has the potential to come in pretty fast. For some reason, as soon as you asked that, Spirit actually was showing the spring of this year. So when I receive timing, just to be clear, I see it more as a window of time than I see it as an exact date. But for some reason, Spirit was narrowing in on April, but they are showing the spring. I mean, so the short answer to the question is yes. When I connect and tap into it psychically, for some reason, I feel like the way you might meet this person is through friends. And what I get from Spirit as well is that here's the thing, the way that Spirit shows it to me is that it presents itself as potential for more exclusive dating. It presents its potential. So Spirit says that because a lot of it depends upon what you do and how you go about it. They do stress to kind of take your time, but I don't know if you're already out and about socializing with people. If that's not something you're doing right now, Spirit suggests that you do that because it's something about, like they're saying, you have to be out. You have to be out to meet this person. It wouldn't be something where like you're just walking through your neighborhood and you bump into somebody. It's not like that. It feels like you actually have to be physically out and about to connect. But the energy around it feels positive. I do get a good energy with it. Something about it does feel healthy. Age-wise, I'm not exactly getting the exact age of the person. It feels like you're comparable, though. I don't feel too young, too old. So overall, the energy does feel good, and that's what I'm receiving.
Oh, okay, because I'm 57, but yeah, I'm going to 57, and yeah, I was in
Mhm.
a pretty bad thing. It wasn't
Mm.
bad, but it was just like kind of mentally on me, like kept me hanging on and stuff, and I just want to totally like leave that behind. I think.
I see. No, I understand. Yeah, here's the thing, and this is the thing about healing as well. This spirit wants you to consider. Typically, healing is not something you do one day and it's over. It's a continual process. And so, what I do receive from spirit is that you probably have to, however you want to do it, say some sort of a prayer or an intention or a mantra about the past partner, and it needs to be something like, "I wash my hands of you." I almost literally feel like every time you step into the shower, every time you cleanse, every time you bathe, imagine you're pulling all of that gunk off of you, right? And it's going down the drain. Because what I see is that I do feel like there was damage and I do feel like there were scars from that previous situation. And I do get the sense and
Yes.
impression from spirit that it caused you to sort of doubt your reality, if that makes sense. And that's a telltale sign of like an abusive relationship and a trauma bond. So you can get through this though. You can get through it, but I will say this: let yourself get angry, let yourself get sad, let yourself get whatever you're going to get. The reason I say this is because it does actually feel like it's trauma. So think about it almost like an earthquake. There's aftershocks after an earthquake happens. It's the same with abusive relationships. So it might be like 6 months down the road, and you just get angry or sad for no reason. It's because your body and your spirit is processing and healing from it, and it's releasing that stuff. So that's what spirit is saying. And now that you mentioned that past relationship, that's why spirit says to go slow in anything new that starts, because you want to give yourself enough time to really get to gauge who the person is, but also feel like you're comfortable enough to actually open up, as opposed to like it all at once. Because I feel like that past person, hot and cold, push and pull, you know, all up in your boundaries. It was not a healthy situation. So it is good that you're out of that.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it wasn't the sad thing about it. It wasn't abusive. Like he's never called me a name. Was never
Right.
just not talking to me. If one little thing didn't go
Mhm.
right, I wouldn't get a phone call for 2 months. And but he just kept me leading me on. We're going to get a house in the mountains. I waited, and then didn't
Yeah.
happen. It's that to me is abuse, and you know I think well, I'm 57 years old. That's why I'm hoping it's not over wasting my time with him.
No. No, no, it's not over. And here's what Spirit says about that. You're absolutely right. Neglect is abuse. A person lying to you and telling you things and feeding you fantasies with no intention of backing that up, it is abuse, you know? And you get the right to feel whatever you want to feel about that, is what Spirit is saying. I will say this, and this is the final thing, and then I have to go to the next caller, but this is coming
Okay.
through from Spirit for you. I feel like in this world and in this society, once we reach a certain age, we're told that love is it's just not going to happen for us, or it's that sort of thing. And oftentimes there's so much emphasis placed on youth and our youth, like we can't get love past a certain age. And Spirit is saying that that may be some people's path, but that doesn't have to be your path, right? That's something that's placed upon us, and then we kind of begin to believe it. And it's not to say that it doesn't have its challenges. Definitely after a certain age, connecting with people and things, sometimes it's a bit harder. You're in your routine, you're set in things, it's quite different. But Spirit is saying that you can do it. I do sense, though, that part of it is putting your energy out there again. And now I understand why Spirit was showing like such a, this sort of time span, because what they're saying is you need to give yourself time to slowly ease yourself into things again. But I do feel like you
Right.
will be fine. And Spirit is basically saying to feel what you need to feel about the situation. And I do see that, yeah, it was abusive. But Spirit says, thank goodness, like you're out of that. It'll take a while to move on from it. Every day, one foot in front of the other. See it as one day at a time, okay? And I'll leave you with that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. You have a good evening, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Yes, and so to touch on the previous caller for just a second, I want to talk a little bit about abuse and how it can show up in our lives, because oftentimes we're told that abuse is something that is physically done to us. Somebody physically assaults us, there's a sexual assault, there's abuse of that nature. But there are different types of abuse. There is name calling, there is withholding love and affection, there is ignoring us, there is punishing someone, defaming your character. All of those things are forms of abuse. And the baseline thing is pay attention to how you feel in a person's presence. You should never be in a state where you're feeling less than, right? Where you're feeling small, where you're feeling crushed and pushed down. Healthy relationships are about the freedom to be yourself, however that might show up, right? And none of us is perfect. And obviously, the people we love, sometimes they're going to say, I wish you wouldn't do this, I wish you wouldn't do that. But if things are coming from a place of love, that's an entirely different story. So I'm going to go to the next caller. I'm going to area code 281. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull you up. Area code 281, you are on the air. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Arnacia from Houston.
Arnacia, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. What's your question tonight?
My question is, what type of connection or relationship will my next one be like?
Okay, so it's a couple different things, because first and foremost, I do see a life partner for you, and that connection is going to be quite positive because it feels very, very supportive. But it's interesting because I feel like there's going to be one person that may actually come before the life partner. And the interesting thing about them is their energy is going to feel familiar too. What I see when I connect with this person is I definitely feel like you're probably going to meet them through your career. So that's kind of what Spirit says right away. Something about it is like they're going to be very helpful to you though, right? And it's not in a way where like they're not going to be intimidated or anything of that nature. There's something about their energy that's going to be very helpful and very supportive to you. But it's interesting because I see one person coming in first and then after that the life partner. So what Spirit is saying is it does feel like you may have one more relationship that is significant before you settle in with your long-term person. That's the energy that Spirit is giving me, but kind of see it as stepping stones. Now, if I'm going to move to the long-term person and move to the life partner, the way that they're different from the other person is that they're energetically, they just kind of feel stronger. They have a clearer sense of their identity, and they have a sense of clarity that the two of you are supposed to be together. The other person, on some level, they're going to know, and I feel like you will know too, actually, that the relationship could last for a period of time and it'll come to its close. But the other one is it's going to be very different. I do sense when you meet the life partner, something about them is going to feel familiar. That's how you're going to know. And it's going to be familiar in a good way where you find yourself drawn to them, but there's not a negativity to it. It's not like you have no control over it, but they feel familiar. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Arnesia. Did you have any other questions?
No, that's it. That just is very interesting though about the one coming before the next. So I found that very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah.
I see another one. There's gonna be, but it feels healthy though. Do you know what I mean? Like almost like they
Oh,
get you
okay.
ready for this next one. Mhm.
Okay. I'll talk to you about it later. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a good night. Yeah, and on that note, I think that this is interesting thing to note as well. I think it's something important to stress. Sometimes when we are looking for desiring a life partnership or we're desiring that long-term person, sometimes there are people that come before that are kind of like the practice people that get us ready for that long-term partnership, and so consider that. I also say this because oftentimes the way that the world works and the way society presses standards upon us, we may often tend to think that if we're not married with children by a certain age, or we don't have this by a certain age, or we don't have long-term partnerships, then our relationships are failures, and that's not true. All relationships, whether they be romantic, platonic, work related, they're all connected to our spiritual growth. They all stretch us and grow us as people. They all help us to grow and perfect on a deeper level. So if we can, try to see relationships more as learning experiences, more as parts of spiritual growth versus the beginning, the end, the everything. Because oftentimes when we see relationships ending as a failure, we actually miss the blessing in it. Certain relationships are meant to end. Certain relationships are not meant to last because we're to move on to something new. So we're going to go back to the phone lines. If you do want a reading, please press 1 on your keypad. Now, if you do not want a reading, make sure that you have not pressed 1 because it'll come up as a question mark, and I'll pull you up anyway. But I'm going to go to area code 914. Let me see. Actually, no, I'm going to see who else has been holding. Oh, okay. I'm going to go to area code 914. Give me 1 second and pull you up. Hi, area code 914. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Catherine, and I'm calling from New York.
Hi, Catherine. How you doing this evening?
Great, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. What's your question tonight?
I was wondering when you see a long-term relationship come in for me, please.
So when I connect and tap into a long-term relationship with you, I actually want to move out of this year, and I want to move closer to the year of 2021. So the way the Spirit is showing the energy to me is they're kind of showing it as a window of time. So they're definitely making me feel it's probably going to be closer to 2021 than it is right now. When I connect and tap into the person, something around them does feel like it's a work connection. I don't know if it's through your profession or theirs. That part isn't clear just yet, but it does feel like it's a work-related profession. When I look at it, something about them feels like they're in close proximity to you. So I don't know if they're in like the same state or just the next state over, but there is something about them that feels close. They definitely don't feel like they're clear across the country. When I look at them psychically, I feel like they have been in a more serious partnership before that almost to me feels like a marriage, because spirits give me the energy of marriage and a potential divorce. And I do feel there's at least one child that they have. So Spirit is kind of showing that they're coming out of something, and now I understand part of the reason I feel like you may not meet them this year is because they're just not ready yet. They're not ready yet. It feels like they have unfinished business. They have unresolved things that they need to pull together before they could actually be present for you. And sometimes it happens that way because both people have to come together and be ready at the same time. That's what I'm receiving. But did you have other questions within that? Was there more you're wanting to know or understand?
You did hit on a few things there. That's been a thing for me, that I always wanted to work with the person that is my partner. I don't know. That's just always been like since childhood. I just thought that was the most awesome thing to work and stay together type thing. And then two, there is somebody too, I don't know. Is it the person? Because I always, that's why I was so attracted to your show tonight, because I feel I know who this person is. and that
Mhm.
I believe it's a twin flame connection, because like we've only met like through friends and same circle type thing, and across a
Mhm.
crowded room type scenario. But he's come to
Mhm.
me in dreams. Like, it's the
Mm.
weirdest thing.
Okay.
He comes and has like conversations with me, and then it's been like verified for me. Like when like I'll hear of him doing these things that he's told me in dreams. So I'm wondering,
I
like, is
see.
that the? Mhm.
Can you say the name of the person or just their first initial if you don't want to give the name?
K.
Okay, so this is a soulmate connection. That's immediately what Spirit is saying. When I connect and tap into this person, there's the potential for you to date this person on more of an exclusive level. What I get from Spirit, though, is that they have to be ready and they're not. And the reason why Spirit is saying that they've come to you in dreams and all of this and such is because their spirit is trying to get ready. Like their spirit kind of wants it to happen now. The human part of them is not yet ready for it now, is what I receive. So, I mean, to answer your question, there is the potential for that. I can't necessarily say it's going to be right away, though, because when I look at it,
Mhm.
once again, it goes back to the timing again, and Spirit wants to take me almost all the way to the end of this year, moving into the year coming up. So there is something about this person where it feels like they have to get ready. They have to be ready. They're not ready yet. What I see right now with them, it almost feels like if they're going to come, you kind of have to let them come to you. And the reason I say this is because something in their energy feels very in and out right now. You know those people where you feel a strong connection, but they're in and then they're out. It's like you get snatches and glimpses of them, but it's never quite 100% there.
Mhm.
That's what they feel like right now. I'm not saying it's going to be that way forever, though. But when I look
Right.
at them, there's something about their energy's not ready now. I feel like they have a previous relationship. Something's going on that they're kind of trying to decipher and work through.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I'm excited for next
Yeah.
year then too.
Yeah, I mean, but Spirit says you may see them again this year, though, because there's something
Oh.
where they may circle back around. Yeah, but what I see from Spirit is because I feel like you are. I sense you know this, but this is the final thing I'll leave you with. Spirit is basically saying you are loved by a lot of people. So like they kind of just want you to know that, like just sort of out and about in your life. And what I see around you is, if you can this year, I mean, it's not always possible, but for you specifically, try to continue to be as social as you can be. Spirit is making me feel like that is very important. It's also very important that your energy right now is out there in the world. It does feel like you've done a lot of work on yourself, and that can be felt by other people. It kind of helps to raise the vibration. It helps some people feel better about themselves, if that makes sense. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm receiving. Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're
You
phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you, and you have a good night, okay?
You too. Many blessings. Thank you.
Oh, same to you. You take care. Yes, so we are winding down, but we do have one more call holding, and if you do want to speak to me and get a reading, just press 1. So that I know that you want a reading because it'll show up as a question mark. But yeah, I want to stress this because sometimes when it comes to love and relationships, one or both partners is just not ready yet. A lot of times when I read for people, people ask, why hasn't it happened yet? And sometimes it hasn't happened yet because the person that you might be most compatible with, they're in another relationship, they're going through a divorce, they're going through a major upheaval, maybe they have a health crisis. A lot of times there are many different things that are going on in people's lives, and they have to go through specific journeys, and they have to go through specific struggles to get to be the person that they're going to be. For many of us, the person we were 10, 15, 20 years ago is certainly not the person we are today. There may be aspects of, but ideally we've grown, we've changed, we've shifted. So just because something is not happening right now doesn't mean it's not going to. And Spirit wants everybody to consider that. They also want to stress that what is for you is going to be for you. And Spirit always says that. It cannot be taken away. The only person who can push it away really is you. You know, the only person that can push stuff away that's for me is me, right? So Spirit just says to keep that in mind. So I'm going to go to, I think, our final call of the night. I'm seeing area code 812. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull you up. Area code 812,
Hi,
you're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
my name is Nicole. I'm calling from Hinton, West Virginia.
Hi, Nicole. I will never forget your name. What's your question?
Yeah, we have the same name. But, yeah.
What's your question tonight?
Yeah, I have been single for about a year now, and I just want to know about love myself, and I just want to know, what is my, where is, like, what is, when do you see love coming in for me, like, the one coming in for me?
Okay. So as I connect and tap into your energy, if a time, right now for some reason I'm not receiving a time frame. If it comes through the course of this reading, I will give it. But oddly enough, and I don't even know if this is what's going on with you right now, but for some reason Spirit is showing health and fitness with you, like specifically gym, yoga studio. Is that something that you're thinking about doing right now, or
Yes,
you have been doing?
the last year I have lost, so I lost 71 pounds so far.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's beautiful. Okay, because for some reason, like, that kind of came up right away. Interesting. The reason I say this is because I for some reason I get the way that you might meet this person is actually through fitness. So I don't know where you're going or what you're doing to work out right now. If you're not already doing this, Spirit is kind of giving me the sense that you may want to go deeper into mixed company to do workouts, like almost like group workouts or almost like club things. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but like singles will work out in a group or something of that nature. For some reason, I feel like that is how you're probably going to meet this person. The other thing I also want to say in terms of the weight loss, and this is something that I feel like you've been working on, but Spirit wants you to consider, and you don't have to answer this to me, you have to answer it to yourself. They're saying you have to ask yourself, how are you different now than you were a year ago? The reason why I say this is because when I tap into who you were a year ago versus now, in some ways you're the same, but overall, totally, in a lot of respects, you feel like a completely different person.
Yeah.
So who you would attract a year ago I'm not even talking about physically. I'm talking about spiritually, emotionally, mentally. So who you would have attracted a year ago is like night and day to what you would attract now. So in a nutshell, this is what I'm seeing. I don't exactly see a time frame on when you're going to meet that person. I do feel like something about your new routine with fitness and that sort of thing, it's connected to that. I also see that, and I don't know what you used to do to socialize or meet people, but whatever it was, I feel like it needs to completely change. Like what I'm getting from Spirit is I feel like almost like it needs to be an entirely new set of people that you're meeting and connecting with. And I almost feel like fitness might be the thing that bonds you to people and actually allows you to meet people. The last thing I have is more of a question for you just because it's popping up. I mean, I know you did lose quite a bit of weight, but Spirit still keeps showing something about even more fitness goals. Like, are you thinking about doing anything fitness-wise professionally or like on a more elite level? Does that make sense?
No, not really. I just graduated college back in June for medical billing and coding. So, yeah.
Okay, got it. Well, okay, so here's what I see. I'm not getting a time frame, but I do feel like something about the fitness energy is connected to meeting someone new. And what Spirit is basically saying is put yourself in mixed company with that. Because it feels like you need to be with people that have shared interests. But what I do see now as you're asking, I feel more dating for you this year than I feel serious partnership or relationship. I feel more dating. And
Yeah.
what it is, and this is why Spirit says more dating, they're making me feel like you need to figure out who you are now versus who you were a year ago. And they're also making me
Mm.
feel like you need to feel empowered when you're dating, like you have a choice. Like
Mm.
not like it's a situation where someone is picking you or choosing you, but you're actually like you have a list of people and you're able to select what you want. So you may have to
Right.
put yourself out there a little bit. You know, I feel like you probably have to socialize with an entirely, totally different group of people. I do feel that.
Right.
And I do see one thing that pops up. You might be doing this already. I feel like if you have like maybe one or two online apps that you do just to meet people, possibly in mixed company, even in group settings, that's going to help you.
Mm.
But it feels
Yeah.
casual, and then you'll narrow it down as the year goes. But I do feel like it's something you have to actively, you kind of have to actively do it, if that makes sense. So like,
Mm.
you know,
Right.
and I think you'll take breaks here and there. Like, oh, okay, in the spring I'll date, and then now I'm tired of it, and then I'll come back to it. But what they're saying is
Yeah.
it'll be from an empowered place, yeah. And that's what I'm seeing
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've already kind of done that already. Like I've talked. There's guys that come to me or whatever, but I have gotten like I'm in this like I don't know. Last year it's been kind of busy. Like I've had my brother gotten married.
Mhm.
I've gone like I graduated college and I moved from Indiana to West Virginia. My mom gotten sick, so I had to take care of my mom. I'm still taking care of my mom, and it's just like I'm trying to get my daughter's license. I'm doing other things too, but you know, and so I'm trying to do a lot of things also, but I'm trying to date too. So it's like I'm trying to be
Mhm.
selective who I want to be with. I'm not just going to be with anybody, but I'm also kind of selective.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense, and it ties in with what Spirit was saying. You know, I feel
Mhm.
like you're on the right path. The last thing I'll
Mhm.
leave you with is just kind of give yourself time, though. Do you know what I mean? Because
Right.
just as you just stated it, you've got a lot going on, right? So, and
Mhm.
you're also the type of person when you're really in it with somebody, you're going to give
Mhm.
100%. You know,
Right.
so right now,
Yeah.
that's why your energy needs to be a little bit more split because Spirit is saying there's just other things that require your attention right now. You know, I do see, I will
Right.
tell you this though, as we get closer to like the late spring, summer, I actually feel the dating starting to rev up again. You know, and Spirit is
Mhm.
saying, just if you can see it as fun, like see it as
Mhm.
like an experiment, if that makes sense, because I feel like that
Right.
will help you where you won't be in the space of, oh my gosh, she just wasted my time. I mean, sometimes you're going to feel that way because sometimes people do.
Mhm.
But Spirit is saying that like if you treat it more that way, then it's like, okay, not for me, closer to my
Mhm.
goal though. But yeah,
Right.
but that's what I'm receiving. Okay.
Right. Well, I have one more question. I was wondering where. The one I'm with, supposed to be with. What is he up to now? Do you know? I just have that curiosity in my brain sometimes.
You know, right now, and I don't receive a whole lot about that person, but they're not even in the relationship headspace. It's
Okay.
not even in their headspace right now. Yeah, not even there. They have to grow up. That's what Spirit is telling me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like I
Do you,
almost feel like met them
yeah.
now, you might not like them, and I don't feel like you know them.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't know if I know them or not, or you know,
No.
do they live in the same
Yeah,
state as me, or they live far?
you know, Spirit isn't giving me that information, but they're just saying they're
Okay.
not even in the headspace to be in a relationship right now. Mhm.
Okay. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you. All right. Thank
You're
you so much.
welcome. You have
All
a
right.
good night.
Uh,
Take care.
you too. All right. Bye.
Yes, so the show is almost winding down, and I want to thank you guys so much for taking a moment to listen. I don't know if you can hear this, but the dogs are barking, so that means that it's almost time for us to close the show down. But you can listen to Live the Light the first of every month on Blog Talk Radio, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and NicoleBowman.biz. All the links are in the description. And also, if you would like a private reading with me, go to NicoleBowman.biz. I'm available this week. You'll see my availability there. And the final thing as well, if you have questions about psychic development, intuitive support, anything of that nature, spiritual tools, I have an Amazon affiliate store on NicoleBowman.biz under my recommended books list. And I have oracle decks, I have books from practitioners that I know, all of which you can purchase through my website. It's all for your spiritual growth and support. So obviously you don't have to purchase it if you don't want to, but there are many things there. There are many tools to help you grow and evolve. And that's really what it's about. At the end of the day, things will happen in the time and space sequence that is right for you. And that is so important to know and understand. So I want to leave you with that. I want to let you know that you are loved. And subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, because I will be doing some celebrity psychic readings. And I often offer a lot of additional information on my YouTube channel, Live the Light, that I don't always offer on my Blog Talk Radio show. So if you go to youtube.com/Live the Light and subscribe, tons of videos, tons of information, many things that you can pull there. And always remember to live your light, live your bliss, love yourself, and take care, guys.